Last week we talked about JSU pulling out of the Southern Heritage Classic. This week we can talk about them being back in the Southern Heritage Classic. Apparently the lawyers had a second thoughts about the way that was handled. In fact, Fred Jones, who's the obviously the promoter of the whole event, when JSU did change its mind, says, okay, we'll at least play in this year's game. He said, since receiving that letter, JSU is now wisely mitigating damages for its breach of contract by honoring its legal commitment to 2022, but he didn't add the words, but he might as well have. Let there be no doubt, the contract has been breached. We know where they're coming from on this, and they feel like they have that pretty ironclad, I think. And it's interesting, we've also learned that this seems to be that Deion Sanders is the one who's the genesis of Jackson State pulling out. He was quoted as saying, these classics aren't beneficial for us. The fans can kick and scream all they want, but they have to understand we're doing business in the SWAC, from Deion Sanders. So my understanding is, Otis, each of these teams came away with $350,000 at the last Southern Heritage Classic game. That's a good chunk of change for a school, and it's apparently not enough for at least one of those schools.
Well, I mean, and it is a good chunk of change. And, you know, the facts here, Richard, very briefly. Fred Jones has a contract. The contract was signed in 2019. And it is binding. It goes through 2024. So I think Fred is going to hold them to 2024. If not, I'll see you in court. He also has a contract with the city of Memphis to use the Liberty Bowl. This all happened before Deion Sanders got there, and he can talk all he wants about this is not beneficial. They have it on paper, and Fred Jones is going to make sure that they adhere to that paper.
Tawana, a lot of JSU alums were not happy to hear what their school had decided to do.
Well, I want to preface this by saying that I just can't believe all of this happened when you have a contract that you're supposed to honor.
Right.
He should have never been placed in this particular situation in the first place. But inasmuch as he has been placed in that position, it is on the Jackson State to explain this to their alumni. And a lot of them live here in Memphis. And it has been beneficial at the tune of $6 million over the years to both of these institutions. And we can't even count how many students it encourages from this area to attend those universities.
Absolutely.
The impact of the alumni coming together, doing things for their institution. You can't put a cost on that. I don't know the cost on that.
Yep.
But I think they made a mistake, and they got the right one this time, because Fred Jones is nothing to play with. And whether they're in or out, in the words of King George, a blues singer, this train gonna keep on rolling.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there. I want to thank you folks for joining us tonight, and thank my panel too. We'll see you next week for ABC24 This Week.